this is Art Kitchen. My guest today is a gem, Shameka Gagnier, who I actually decided to interview because of how many people on Facebook said they wanted to see it happen. So here it is for you. Shameka is a self-taught woodworker and musician whose work focuses on healing, identity, decolonization, the ancestors, and spirit. Her work is often collaborative, including the beautiful adornments and houseware she makes with her partner, Mayana Welty, which you can check out at etsy.com/shops/stagwood. Shameka's current musical project, although also a collaboration, is a deeply personal album. Shameka describes Bloodlines, due to be released fall 2016, as an offering to the ancestors, to the land that holds her, and to the people who come after her. This is part one of 2 videos, so there will be another one coming out in a couple weeks. I'm thrilled to have Shameka here, and you're about to see why. So you grew up singing in the church, and I'm wondering if you considered yourself an artist at that time, and if that was part of your creativity, or if your identity as an artist and a creative person emerged in other ways or later on.
The church, like singing in church, was more like wrapped up in my identity with religion and being held in community, and also service, even as a little person. Kind of had more time with a self-discovery at home and playing with friends and other people. So I felt, as a very young person, I felt like a very creative human. Just that was always a part of me.
Yeah.
But in church, it was definitely it's a totally different place. I don't know how to describe that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
And so I have 2 kind of questions about that. So in the church, when you're singing, you're talking about, community, spirituality, service. What was that? What was the singing? What was the singing aspect? Where was that? What was that about for you?
It was about connecting with God and also family. It was this deep emotional connection that gave me a place, which was really important because of my background. And so it felt like a communion that I didn't really have with other people, but I was like home. Yeah.
And then at the same time, you were saying in your childhood you were playing and you considered yourself a really creative person, but with these other activities. What were those other activities? What made you feel like an artist or a creative person at that age?
Everything was an opportunity to create some fantastical world, or like a play or storytelling, recording stories on little tape decks, making plays for our friends. I don't know. I was a big handball. Yeah. And so you still work in multiple mediums, and it sounds like that has been true since the beginning. Is there a relationship between those different ways of working, or do certain parts of yourself come out in different mediums that don't in others? Yes. And they all, intersect in this beautiful way. Certain parts of myself come out. I have more within creating, as far as carving. There's more time for a process to slowly unfold. I really let the wood talk to me. I really turn that part over. I used to have this more concrete way that I would approach it, where I would be like, okay, I need to tell this story, and I need to identify these emotions, and I need to talk about this part of healing. And it was more of this broader approach that was really confining, and now I sit in the process for a much longer time, and I don't judge it. I don't add value to it until it's done. I just let it happen. And then with music, it happens pretty slow in these certain ways, and also like a lot faster than a lot of other artists. Like I'll sit with a feeling or an emotion and I'll be able to hold that and write a whole song, and the melody will come and everything, but then I will go to other artists and ask them, sing it for them or show them, and then I'll say, I really want this vibe or whatever, and they'll bring that in for me. So it's different. What other part of that question?
Well, one of the things I heard was that you're kind of listening to the wood. Is there that same dynamic with music? Are you letting something emerge, or?
Yeah, it's more, with the wood, it feels like it's outside of me. It's a relationship with something way bigger. I mean, music too, but it feels like it's coming to the same place from two different angles. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like music, I'm sitting with these emotions, these feelings, the other side of my healing, and being able to see that a lot of this stuff is about transformation and stuff. With the wood, it feels like the wood also has something to say. And so I am holding that too. Because a lot of times I'll work with it and it'll just entirely become something different. And it'll be a different part of, like a different aspect of that same story. That I just didn't even see. So, I don't know. Yeah.
It's really interesting. And then do your songs and your carvings ever talk to each other?
Yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
That's really cool, because they hold different resonance, they hold different perspectives. But yeah, there's always these like crazy correlations, and some of them are like macro to micro, like.
Can you think of an example, not to put you on the super spot, but can you think of an example of a time when it was like, oh.
Okay, so there's a piece that I'm still finishing, and it's part of this Bloodline series that I'm working on, and it's really ancestral. It feels like this place. So I wrote this song, also called Bloodlines, and it's like I wrote from this longing and like speaking to the trees and just being like, I know there's this place and this memory in my body, and there's this memory in your bodies where you remember having ancestors and having elders, and there's like this deep ache and longing inside of me for that. And then I was working on the wood, and the moon came, like the moon in like so many different aspects, and these like old figures came that I haven't seen in any books or anything. They just came.
Right.
And then there's like all of these lines of like intersections, and it's like the wood was showing me that, and how old and how long that's been, that line, and then the music.
Yeah, so it was actually that give and take, that there was dialogue happening.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really sweet.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you were saying that when you, in your early stages of working carving, that you would kind of have these ideas or, questions or whatever, and it would be more of your conscious mind driving what was happening. As your process has evolved, how have your reasons and motivations for creating changed?
Before, during those times, it was kind of like this huge drive to try to explain something, give some value to my life and my stories and the people that have come before me and my family. Trying to like ask for forgiveness on some level, they weren't empowered on this level of, it was like almost like an apology for existing. And also like, if you could understand our story enough, you might love us, like, and maybe that resonates with you too, like it hurts, like see this. And like grappling with identity, grappling with healing, grappling with these things that were really important. So, but I would like lay it out, in this way that would be kind of digestible and kind of like slightly a secret. Like you could kind of take it however you want it, but that was really what I was asking for and kind of begging for. And now I have space, like space all around me, space in my breath, space in my heart, space in my practice. I've given myself a lot of permission to take up more space. And so there's not that apology, there's not that request anymore. Like I want people to like engage with it and be reflected however they are, and like have that dialogue with the pieces or the music, but it's just coming from this really more grounded space. I've done a lot of work on my healing, and so it's just like a very different, it feels really different.
And do you think that the one way of working is responsible for your ability to work in the other way?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, I was playing the game wrong and now I read the rules. It's like, it is a real organic evolution.
Yeah. I don't think my healing could have happened personally, and my offerings could be as full if it wasn't for that space. Yeah.
And do you think, is there any sort of wisdom or insights that you have now about your process that you didn't have that you wish you had? Like if you could call past Shameka on the phone and give a little nugget, would you do it? Or do you think that, yeah,
I don't know if I would have been able to hear it though. Yeah, but I totally would have. I would have been like, honey, like, your time and existence and your story and whatever you have to offer, your offering is beautiful in itself, and you could just sit with this and be in the process and give that to yourself, because it's like such a big, huge gift to be able to like give all your parts, like all your fragmented, broken parts, that time to unfold. It's been such a big offering for myself. And so I just wish I would have been like, oh, you don't have to like figure out how to save the world, or you don't have to figure out how to like make your offering good enough for anybody. Just be in your process. And yeah, I thought that was a load of crap, like when people would say stuff like that.
Be in your process.
Yeah, I was like, screw you. Like, but yeah, I would have really told myself to listen to that.
And it's funny, when words are really different than an experience, and so the words of being your process is a really different thing than being like, oh.
Yeah, all of the, I don't know, I think about trees and the whole ecology, and like trees are never like, hurry up and grow, like shut up and grow up. They're never like weary of the time that it takes to go through all of the processes of change, and all of their processes are used for the collective, like it, and I think in our society we forget that, like all of it has a place, all of it has medicine, and
yeah. Something cool that I'm hearing in what you're saying too is when you were talking about singing in the church, you were talking about that being this sense of belonging, and that is, it seems like, something that kids are really good at is just doing their process, and then it's like, okay, like what I need is to feel belonging, and that is this, whereas then later with this like learned way of doing art, it was searching for belonging and justifying it, or like creating an image of belonging. And then it seems like in what you're saying about this new way of working that you have, it's embodying belonging, and that maybe that search is still there to some extent, but it's embodying that search instead of externalizing it.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's a good process.
Yeah. So let's see. I was going to ask you something, but you already answered it. Where do I want to go? Yeah. So actually, yeah, a really good segue is, do you feel like your creative process is necessary, and would you put it in the category of like part of your well-being, your health, your healing?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I've tried really hard to downplay it for good portions of my life. Deciding that, I don't know, just like a lot of survivor's guilt, like how to be a good community member, throwing myself into all of these things that are very important, and I don't want to downplay any of that because it's huge, but at the sacrifice of not being my whole self. And so you're like running around on burnout and really not fully being present with people, and always like self-sabotaging because you're not really, like, at least for me, it was just really awful. And I did it forever, and relationships, all these different things came out sideways because I wasn't really grounded in my experience, and a lot of my art is about relationship and being in right relationship, being in healing, being in relationship to healing, being in relationship. And if I don't have that anchor, then I'm not very good at it. Like I struggle with it anyways, but I'm really bad at it. Yeah.
And I was going to ask you about that a lot of your work is about relationship, and also a lot of your work is collaborative, working in relationship with other people. So I'm curious about what that process is like, and what collaboration is like versus working alone. And I'm going to give you a jumble and then we can sort it out. And I'm also interested in how a collaboration and a being in relationship can still be a way of connecting with yourself instead of losing yourself.
Yeah.
So if you want to pull any straws out of there.
It has, in the past, I've used it as to hide a lot. And just to kind of to hide. I didn't really feel very comfortable being in my own personal authority. I was very apologetic for being alive, and also like really had this like real big drive to create and do and be a part of something. Because it is like, it's the most intimate thing. Also, a lot of my learning process is through collaborations. All the music processes that I've ever had were both about learning about music, of course, but also learning about so many more parts of myself, how to be in relationship with, and to how to be in like my truest self. And so they were really important, but I was still hiding a lot. And now it's really fun. Like, I really enjoy being in collaborative process because there's this release and this give, this offering that I get from this other person, that is, they're putting their time and their energy into something, and it's like absolutely beautiful. And then I get to be a part of that. And that's such an honor. And it also pushes me beyond any of my limitations. because I would just be creating the same work maybe, or like, I don't know, I would just get stagnant. And so I'm like, oh, I could do that. Oh, my voice sounds like that. I'm very malleable in these certain ways when it comes, especially with other humans. And I feel like now I'm able to stay more in my own personal process in that, because a lot of times I'm not working in the same space as them, shared space. Or there's like time where I get to like be separate and I get to listen to the music, and I'm like, I like what we did there, and also I want to take it here, just I trust that about myself more. And also it's always like the people that I work with, it's always reflected. Like there's like this mutual like over appreciation, like we're, just like really get giddy about being there. It's really involved. So, yeah.
So, as you were talking, I was reminded again of what you were saying about the listening to the wood when you're carving it. And it seems almost like those skills that you're building working with wood are skills for working with people too, of that like listening but not losing yourself, and how can this be both voices? Yeah. I've been a part of a process one time where it was me and my sweetie and we were making art together, and I didn't stay in that, and neither did she, and it was so awful. Like, we had to hang the show and we both looked back at it and we were like, neither one of us is reflected, and the outcome was just kind of this watered down, it was bad. Neither one of us were into it at all. So we call this series Compromise.
It was, I don't even know what we did with any of those pieces. It was bad. Super compromised.
Yeah, that's such an irony, right? Where the less you listen, then the less you're able to be too. And somehow like the more you can receive, the more there's actually space for you somehow.
And our socialization and our environment, I mean, not so much Olympia, but mostly you're not taught that at all. And so like, it's really hard to learn how to do that.
Right. Yeah. And how to trust it too. I think that,
Seriously.
Yeah. And so you still do work somewhat on your own too. And you're working on the wood stuff with Mayana, right? So that's a collaborative.
Yeah. She's in and out of it. She has other loves and things that she's doing. But yeah, a lot of times when she isn't working with me as much, I'll ask her for her eye. She's got a really good eye. Yeah. It's really fun.
So also speaking about relationship, I'm curious if your relationship with your art changes when it's just yours versus once it is in collaboration, or even once it's shared with an audience.
Yeah, a lot. It changes. So it's much more of a slower process, of course. Like, time is no issue. Well, sometimes it is, but I can just be like in the mystery with it and let it work on me. Like, it's working on me. It's working on me. We're still working together. We're still in that communication. And then I either am working collaboratively with somebody, or viewers, start looking at it. And then the conversation gets so much broader, and the reflection changes, and it is more of like a bigger encompassing. It's like more of the macro, I guess. Like, and then I can also see their conversations with it, and how with wood, also with music too. Like, people get cracked open, and like I'm having my own like feelings with this piece or this music, and then I get to see it happen out there, and it's really freaking cool. Like, I really love that part a lot. It feeds me on a different level, and it hits different parts that I didn't even know were under the surface of that piece. Or same thing happens with collaborative work with people too. I really like watching other people's process. I really like watching other people be in that part of mystery and like that soupiness of working on a piece. Not everybody works that way, and that's fun too, you know? But luckily I've been with people that have worked kind of that way, at least with the visual art piece. So it's been really cool. Yeah.
And is there, from that kind of a seed of an idea to a finished thing that is being discussed by other people, is there a stage, is there a step in that process that feels particularly comfortable or uncomfortable, where you feel safe, where you feel really insecure? Are there like highlight spaces that you're familiar with and you're like, oh, we're at this part?
Yeah. It's probably like the first half of the project. I feel kind of insecure. Sometimes I'll get excited, like I'll see like a glimmer or something in the future. It's gonna happen. It's something's coming out. Like something's happening. Even with music, that happens. And then I'll just get really insecure again, and I'll have to like get myself in a position where I can hold that and be with it, and then move through it. Because the longer that I fight that feeling, the longer it stays. Yeah. It sucks.
Yeah. And what is your insecurity voices script? Is it about the like idea being bad, or you, or what's the?
All of it. Yeah. Yeah, I think especially in our culture, I deal with healing so much, you know, and especially in our culture, and also like in my background of humans that I come from, you know, we're just trying to survive. Like, why are you being such a soft, you know, baby about everything? Like, why are you feeling all your feelings? Why are we even here? Like, we gotta do something. It's all about the product. It's all about survival, you know, and then, yeah, so there's that. And sometimes it feels like a betrayal, you know, to like all these people that have worked so hard. But then on the other side of that, it's like the biggest offering I could ever give any of my people. Yeah. You know, it's such a huge gift. But I have that, and also, yeah, just like a lot of self-worth stuff, and a lot of, I get really embarrassed, like, you know, and then if I'm able to move through that, then there's something on the other side that's always tells me a totally different story than what I have going on in my head, thankfully. Yeah. That would be really awful.
Yeah, you're like, well, I did this thing and I still agree. It was not worth the time.
Yeah. God. Yeah.
So it's less about, for you, it's less about, are people going to like this or think that it's interesting, and more about, is this actually a valuable, ethical way of spending time?
It's the other two.
Okay.
Yeah, it's both. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, aesthetics, you know, still, I still get, I don't have any formal training. And so composition, all of these different things I like really freak out about. And I've definitely, luckily, found teachers in really odd ways. Like my sweetheart's aunt, she's a carver. She's been carving for like 40 years. And so she'll give me really great feedback. And then I have two really good friends that I'm in a critique group with, and they're both women of color, and they're both professors. And I'm like, holy crap, you are gonna hang out with me and talk about art, you know, and then they'll give me feedback. And so, yeah, but yeah, aesthetics sometimes. And also aesthetics musically. sometimes. I'm like, because I love so many different types of music, and I also am such a mushy person and big feelings person that sometimes I'm like, is this gonna fall on its ass? Like the feeling or the rawness, is it gonna be lost in this arrangement or, so yeah, I get a lot of self-doubt during different parts, but I think I realized that that's part of it. And then I also surround myself with people that will talk me through it, which is really talk me back away from the cliff. Like, you're okay, buddy. Okay. Start petting myself. Yeah. I don't know if you can relate to that, but.
No, yeah. And so does that same insecurity or that same kind of, steps happen in collaborations too when you're working with other people? Or does it change to have other people working with you?
Yeah, sometimes. With visual art, luckily, it's been really seamless, and I don't know why, except for that one time when I did that show with my sweetie, and we didn't really stay in our full experience. But yeah, very seamless, and I don't know exactly why. Not a lot of self-doubt, not a lot of those weird stories, and I want to think about that more.
So you're saying that with visual art in general, or visual art collaborations?
Visual art collaborations,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know why, because most of the time I'll critique things right out the gate before, there's like, I put like a couple cuts in this piece, just a couple, and I'm already like criticizing it, and then I have to be like, oh, this is really, okay, let's figure out what that's about, okay, but like, when I'm working with other artists, that does not happen as much. But musically, yes, hardcore, yeah.
Want more? Don't worry, there is more. Like it, share it, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss a thing. It's youtube.com/MoGoldenVideos. And if you want to be one of the generous patrons that makes this project happen, come on over to patreon.com/Mo and join the community. You'll get some cool rewards too.
Brewing in the shade of